Street raised, I was brought up where the G stayed. Peep game, those who didn't catch one to your brain. Stay in your lane, never wolfed it, boy, I never fake. Watch them break, watch them fall, still I remain. Never change, never try to come and rearrange. Never hate, never tripping on somebody's plate. That shit is lame, leave that type of shit for the dames. The streets don't play, oh catch up, watch your life escapes. One game, homie, that you shouldn't play. There's real soldiers in the streets gunning every day. This shit is normal in the vital part of every day. It ain't great, but I'm loyal, so I'll never change. I keep repeating, but I mean it, never lose your way. Heed the warning and the missing just for talking brave. Fuck my enemies, two faces and all the snakes. Now for this matter, just name the time and name the place. We'll get it active, fuck the gap, and I'm in face to face. Real gangsters never fold, then we never shake. I was brought up to.
You are now watching M.O.D Entertainment.
What's good, G-Life? Now, as we continue the Street Loco countdown of neighborhoods, we will be heading towards an area that is very infamous. There is a few areas in Los Angeles that when you hear the names, you know that it be going down. Like the Pico Aliso area, like Watts, like Compton. And like the Pico Union District. The Pico Union District is another area of Los Angeles that people are aware of. You know, the MacArthur Park, Pico Union area is, you know, also gangbang capital where the chaos happens, where shit be going down because of how, you know, how jam-packed it is with different gangs within that area. And when I mean jam-packed, I mean it's jam-packed, bro. And this is home to one of these street local neighborhoods, and it is known as the Varrio RSL. RSL translating to Rockwood Street Locos. You can see it up as RWST or RSL. RWST, obviously, you know, Rockwood Street, or as they're known as Rockwood Street Locos. You know what I mean? Real street legends. They're a neighborhood that started roughly around the 1970s as a tagging football group. So they would play football. So it was one of these football neighborhoods, you know, that was around in the 70s, you know, these group of youths that would play football against other, you know, teams, other areas. And they were also taggers, really good too, you know what I mean? They had talent, you know what I mean, as real street legends. Now, as when the transition happened with all these youths, you know, colliding, the gangbanging scene, you know, planting its flag and everything, you know, manifesting it into what we know of it today, you know, they also made the transition with that. You know, becoming the Rockwood Street Locos, a neighborhood that is very large with members in the hundreds. Their area is everything that's from Union Avenue all the way to 6th. So 6th and Union is, you know, that's why you see it hit up on their, you know, the graffiti and everything like that. You know, that's their domain. All the way to Lucas to 3rd. From 3rd, their territory still extends all the way to what's the name of that street? Barrandee Avenue, to all the way to 1st and back around. So everything that's in the middle throughout 3rd, obviously 3rd and Union as well, is the heart of their domain. You know what I mean? Their dojo throughout Hartford, which is one of their cliques. You know, the Hartford Dukes right there. Throughout Whitmore, throughout Columbia Avenue, you know, that's why, you know, this, you know, close to the 18th Street, that's why, you know, you see heavy tensions between the two gangs, you know, heavy animosity between those two groups, you know, 18 and these guys definitely don't get along, you know, they've been beefing it since the beginning, bro, you know what I mean? They always had those tensions between the two groups, you know, and Rockwood, you know, it does have several cliques to them, you know, Hanford Dukes, you know, the KTOs, which was a crew that got into their neighborhood, and several other cliques to their barrio. And they are known to rock the black and yellow, so the Steeler colors is their colors. That's why you see them with the Steelers gear. Black and yellow is the neighborhood's color. Even when they were a football team, that was the color that they represented and used, and it just they just kept that, you know, when they made the transition to neighborhood, they kept the same stilo. So that's why you see them with black and yellow. But yeah, that's what's up with the Rockwood Street Locals right here. Now, to find the next neighborhood on the list, we actually have to slide on through to the area of Long Beach, the LBC. You already know the LBC is gang infested, full of a lot of neighborhoods, not just Hispanic, but, you know, Crips, all of that, bro. You know, should be chaotic in this area. And this is home to one of these street local neighborhoods, which is known as the 9th Street Locals. Yes, the 9th Street Locals is a real neighborhood that has been well established here since the early 90s that it was established. Now, from what I was told, at least, is that it started off as a crew, but not like, you know, it was more like a stoner, you know, chilling crew, used to hang out, and then that turned into, fist fights turned into stabbings turns to shootings. You already know how it goes, bro. Manifested into the neighborhood that we know of it today. It is one of Long Beach's more smaller neighborhoods. That's why often people forget about this neighborhood. But it is a real neighborhood and it is well established. You know what I mean? Right there on 9th and Washington is their domain, their dojo, their stomping grounds. Like I said, with more larger gangs around the area, like the Lone Goals, it just makes recruitment a lot more difficult. So this neighborhood is not as large, at least from what I was told. Roughly around 30 to 40 members, from what I was told. So a little bit more of the smaller side, but nonetheless a real neighborhood that be handling business right here in Long Beach and putting theirs on the map, for that 9th Street Locos. You know what I'm saying? Now, to find the next barrio on the list, we actually have to be maneuvering to the city of Bell. Yes, the city of Bell is an area that is full of a lot of neighborhoods, despite what individuals want to say. I should know I live by that city. You know what I mean? It definitely gets on and cracking, so peep this game, though. Now, the city of Bell, for those who are not familiar, is around the area of Maywood, Huntington Park, Southgate, Bell Gardens, that area. Small, very small city, but it's home to, treacherous neighborhoods. One of these neighborhoods being a street neighborhood. Now, this one actually originated as his own individual gang, but it since then has clicked up with Florence. So it's a part of Florence now, a click off of Florence, but they were their own individual neighborhood. When you see Florence hit up with these guys, you always see the BST, after the Florence, which is known as the Bear Street Locals. Well, Bear Street Crazies, crazy translating to locals, so Bear Street Crazies, so which is Bear Street Locals. Bear Street Locals is an original neighborhood out of the city of Bell, one of the original Varrios within this area. And its territory was everything that was from Atlantic Boulevard all the way to Bell and back to Florence and on Salt Lake Avenue. So from Salt Lake to Florence, Florence to Atlantic, Atlantic to Bell. Everything that was in the middle was considered their Varrio. Throughout Pine, Florida, Fishburne, Corona, all of that. But the main dojo, their main domain, the heart of the hood was on Bear Avenue, Bear Street. You know what I mean? So throughout Bear and Beg, Bear and, Brompton, all of that was known as their territory, their domain, where they still are there holding it down. You know what I mean? It is, a well-recognized clique from Florence. You know what I mean? They handle their business. Like I said, at one point they were their own individual gang, but, they made this decision to, become a part of Florence, as, other neighborhoods as well. Not just them. But like I said, you always see the Bear Street attached to their neighborhood. They're proud of their barrio. You see them rocking all the Bears gear. You see, bear claws and bear tattoos and, everything, with the bear logo still attached to it. Like I said, these guys are proud of their neighborhood and are still established and continue to still handle business right there and been handling business and still remain standing. Now, since we're within the area, the next barrio is not even that far to find, you know what I mean, which is located here in the city of Cudahy. Yes, Cudahy is home to one of these street neighborhoods. This one being a little bit different, as well. This one having the same thing, that Bear had, which is known as the Varrio Clara Street Locos. Clara Street Locos has since became a click off, since became Cudahy 13. But before it was Cudahy 13, it was Clara Street Locos. Clara Street Locos is actually, Cudahy is a mixture of two gangs coming together, roughly around the 90s when these two like small individual gangs clicked up to form the Cudahy 13 neighborhood, which was the little mob, the telemobs, and the Clara Street Locos, making the Cudahy 13, Clara Street Locos telemob. You know what I mean? Now, and the reason for it is because, Cudahy Southside was an area that was, infested with guys from 18th Street. They were the original guys here in the city of Cudahy. And so, these guys would clash with these individuals. And obviously 18th Street being the more bigger neighborhood, you know what I mean? So these groups, united to form the Cudahy 13 to combat, the rivals. But they kept their cliques. That's why you still see the CSTLS, for those who, wondered. Yes, at one point it was his own individual gang, but, since then, manifested into the neighborhood that we know of it today. Because I know it was going to get brought up, so that's why I decided to mention it right here. Yes, the Clara Street Locals, part of Cudahy, but yes, they were their own individual neighborhood. This neighborhood, at one point was large. Since then, has not as large as it once was. But don't get it twisted. I should know, bro. These guys are still active. They still get it on popping, and they still hold it down right there in that area. You know what I mean? Despite what individuals want to say, dog, I don't come to wolf it, lie, front, none of that, bro. Just come and tell it how it is. You can hate it or love it. It doesn't change the facts. They be right there holding it down still for the Clara Street locals in the city of Cudahy, that Cudahy 13. Now, to find the next neighborhood on the list, we have to be making our way to the area that is known as the Southeast. Southeast, home to notorious neighborhoods such as Norwalk, Cantarana, and, other neighborhoods, like that. Now, this is home to one of these street local neighborhoods that often people forget about. They often forget about this neighborhood, but it's a real hood. Have been holding it down right here since the 80s. A small neighborhood, but nonetheless, they handle business, which is known as the OSL. OSL translating to Varrio Orange Street Locals. Orange Street Locals is a neighborhood that has been right here in Norwalk since the 80s. Roughly around 60 to 65 members to them. So not, a large neighborhood, but nonetheless, real individuals. You feel me? Now, this neighborhood handle business. This neighborhood handles business. People can't even say that they don't. They handle business so much that they even put the gang injunction on them because at one point they were just doing a lot of shootings, allegedly, setting houses on fire, all kinds of shit, bro. These guys were running amok, you know what I mean? Their neighborhood is obviously named after Orange Street, which is between Pioneer Street and Rosecrans Avenue, obviously in the city of Norwalk. Like I said, you having more older and larger established gang, like Carmelitas, Barrio Norwalk, Peaceful Barrio Norwalk, neighborhoods, and so many different other barrios just make recruitment a lot more hard, especially, with Norwalk being the more oldest, dominant neighborhood within that area, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, man, these guys, in the 90s, they were running all hell. Like I said, they even put the gang injunction, my boy, on them, 20 square blocks of their barrio. And they don't do that, just because these guys, be, just hanging around not doing nothing. They be, coming at it in neighborhoods like this is because, they be running loose. So the Varrios Orange Street Locals, real neighborhood that has been right here and continue to still represent for theirs and the OSL. Now, to find the next barrio on the list, we have to slide on through to the area that is known as Carson. Carson, yes, home to several barrios, from the Victoria Park locals to the Barrio Carson, to the Nightcrawlers, to everybody and their mother right here, too. Also home to the Bloods, the Pyrus, it be cracking right here. And this is home to several of these street neighborhoods. We'll be starting off with the one that often gets confused a lot. Do I hear this? They confuse these neighborhood. You have the Varrio Carson Realty Street Locals, RSLS, not to be confused with Rockwood Street Locals. This is Realty Street Locals, which is Carson Real Street Locals. Now, not to be confused with Carson Rivanna Street, which writes it Carson and then RST, for obviously Rivanna Street. You know what I mean? This is Realty Street, which is two different things. One is RST, this one's RSL. So they're not the same barrio. They both claim Carson, but they're sub gangs. They're their own individual sub gangs. And the Realty Street neighborhood is everything that's from Maine to Sepulveda. Their territory still extends, their territory still extends towards Broad Street, and from that all the way to Bond Street and back around. So everything that's throughout Fry's Avenue, Pacific, that stretches through the barrio. But the heart of the hood always, obviously is on Realty Street. You know what I mean? Right there by Fry's Avenue and Realty Street is their main domain, and also on Lincoln and all of that. You know what I mean? It's where you're able to find this barrio, and throughout Avalon too. Can't forget about Avalon Boulevard. Yeah, and that area, which is not a big chunk of territory, but a decent amount. You know what I mean? And at least from what I was told, this neighborhood is roughly about 50 members to them. So a little bit more of the smaller size because it's not as old as like the Rivanna Streets or the other Carson place. But nonetheless, this neighborhood has been right here and continues to be established. Another barrio that we have right here in the city of Carson that claims a street local neighborhood is the Varrio CSTLS, not to be confused with Clare Street. This is known as the Catskill Street Locals. Yes, the Catskill Street Locals is the barrio that has already been well established in the city of Carson for quite some time. You know what I mean? These guys have been in the mix too, often a neighborhood that people, forget about. And their territory, obviously right there, they have to share with the Scott Park Pyrus, you know what I mean? They do have to share the territory, mingle amongst each other. So, recruitment is it's limited, you know what I mean? At least from what I was told, this barrio is roughly, at one point it was a large neighborhood, but since then, has calmed down. But at least from what I was told, this neighborhood is roughly about 70 to 80 members to the Catskill Street locals. Like I said, at one point they were a dominant presence. And their territory is by Dolores Street on Catskill Avenue and like 133rd, 136, almost by the elementary, almost by Fosea Park, in that area, or was known as, Scott Park. Like I said, they got to share with the, Pyrus. That's just how it is. But luckily, they seem to have a pretty good relationship with like the Carson neighborhood and the Nightcrawlers. Seems like the neighborhoods don't have no beef. Seems like it's all fine and dandy. So at least they don't gotta worry about that. But like I said, these guys do handle business and have been still putting theirs on the map and continue to hold it down for the Catskill Street locals right here. And yes, it is. Locals is a part of their title, even though you just see it up as, Catskill Street more often than not. But it is Catskill Street locals, the actual name for it. Now, to find the next neighborhood, we have to slide on through to the area that is known as the Inland Empire, i.e., you already know where it be cracking, home to a lot of neighborhoods right here, and home to one of the most infamous neighborhood within this region, which is known as the Westside Verdugo. Westside Verdugo is one of the powerhouses when it comes to the Inland Empire, and it's broken up into several sub-gangs, sub-cliques to their neighborhood. And one of them being a street local neighborhood, which is known as the CSL. CSL translating to Calle Siete Locals or 7th Street Locals. You know what I mean? Essentially, you can see it up either way, Spanish or English. It translates to 7th Street Locals. So the 7th Street Locals, not to be confused with the ones in Orange County. They're two different 7th Streets, not the same. There's like about 4 7th Street neighborhoods. And they're all different, just coincidence. That's how it is. These are the 7th Street Locals, while the other ones are just 7th Street Rifa. Anyway, 7th Street Locals right here is a neighborhood that has been well established and well known, a well recognized set for the Verdugo neighborhood. This neighborhood is formation borders by 16th Street and 5th between Mount Vernon and the 215 freeway. Obviously, this gang is this sub-gang, sub-clique is well known, for it made headlines and it was famous for a particular incident that happened, which I won't be discussing. And if you are familiar with this story, I would please ask for you not to leave it in the comments because I will delete it. We just don't talk about that kind of stuff on here, so I can't dive into the lore behind all of that, but let's just say that it made national headlines and it was a big deal. It's pretty big scandal that just dove too deep into to the realm that I just can't touch upon. But the 7th Street Gang is, one of the more larger and recognizable sets out of the Westside Verdugo and continues to still represent theirs and hold it down. Shout out to the homie, Little Sicko. Free the homie Little Sicko, M.O.D. Can't wait till he gets out and we drop fire music. But yeah, that's what's up with the 7th Street Westside Verdugos.